It's I mean, you really have to go out of your way to just make a terrible character mechanically. Now, it could be a challenge if we roll up I don't know, like a wizard druid. Well, I don't know, that might not be so bad. See, again, I'm even having trouble thinking of bad things. But we're gonna leave it to chance. Let's make some multi-class characters and not just look at the mechanics of how do you make an Eldritch Knight fighter slash Beastmaster Ranger work. They share some similarities and some crossover, but I don't want to look at just that. Remember, on this channel we make characters, right? They have heart, they have soul. Um, Coffee Cat, when we were wrapping stuff up for our Artificer campaign last week, and we were describing the milestones of the story, kind of the goal of each level. And when that was achieved, they were in a different part of the map, and the story has advanced. And when we got to the end, here we had this randomly generated tiefling, and he was randomly given a very ancient age. He was 85 or so. This was definitely going to be his final slog around the world. And because we gave him that soul, we gave him that history. He wasn't just a pile of stats. He was a compelling man who had a shameful past, was seeking redemption at the end of his life, and here, even though the story didn't end, because by the end of that campaign, the immediate threat was put down, but that just picked the scab about something greater, something more widespread, and that is what's gonna lead into some sort of an epic adventure, like 17 through 20. That only these characters, only that team of artificers, can do. Or it might be interesting to revisit that campaign at some point in time and have each of those artificers sort of command a squad themselves, and I don't know, almost make like a second Mesotopia region out of this place, um, in an interesting way. That could be kind of fun to do, where you have these epic characters who'll get together and do some adventuring. But look, you only have 4 levels, right, of epic, and so it would be a campaign framed around the epic characters get together, do something that only they can do, for a while, and then once they got the information or they obtained the MacGuffin or whatever, then they'd come back and each of them would be assigned this next generation squad of artificers, or a mixed bag, right? Because the experiment worked. The artificers are they're solid. They can go out and get the job done. And so every team might have an artificer and then a mix of everything else, or one of each, an artillerist and an alchemist, then 3 others, to form these squads that then go out, and we're running an epic level campaign, but we're also running our lower level characters through a story. And that's going to be something similar to what I would like to do for the sailing campaign. I am still working towards that, and that's really, in fact, Coffee Cat, if you're out there, that's going to be something. If you would like to be kind of a co-DM, I need to pick your brain about Roll20 and how stuff like that can work. In order to have kind of a rotating cast of characters, and to set up some maps and do some other things like that, because I need more information about Roll20, in order to, I think, perform the way that I would like for that campaign, that open campaign idea to perform. Okay, Coffee. Then you and we can collude off stream sometime. But thank you. Uh. So yeah. Anyway, so here we're making our multi-class characters. I got a little. I was drifting. Such as the inspiration, thinking ahead. And I want to explore what kind of people, right? What are the heart and soul? What kind of people become druid barbarians? What happens if someone lives this dual life of being a sorcerer wizard? Who are they? What are their circumstances? And then how can they work together? Anything you need, I'm sure I could figure out and such, because I want to explore the platform of Roll20 as well. Yes, it'll be. So we'll talk coffee, because I'm an idea guy. If that's not obvious by now on this channel, I'm the idea guy. I'm not that you aren't, but I am an idea guy, and I have these concepts and a way that I would imagine them playing out. Though getting them to that point is something that I could use help with, especially on the Roll20 platform. And so, to have someone else who's maybe even more familiar with it than someone I could bounce ideas off of who's also very creative, things along those lines. It can, in coffee, well, you know that very well, considering you've made a couple reasonable requests of me, and I haven't been able to do it yet. Regarding like background lore and such, not that it doesn't exist, but to offer it, because I'm the bottleneck of the channel, right? As the broadcaster, as the person who does all the YouTube stuff, as the person who does the maintenance of the Discord and things along those lines. It is there's a lot of stuff that I am the one who's slowing it down, let alone with the store and just other like IRL stuff. So I will be looking at asking others for some help with the channel in order to have it grow. Where, like Pete and Jeremy, those two mad lads, they work together, and they do a lot together. They're co-DMs and all that. And so I think that can help to distribute some of the workload, and the quality of their shows really shows. And so I would like to step up and use those two guys as a beautiful example of what a channel can be and what it can do. All right, so anyway, rambling. I do have more of that vanilla orange. However, I couldn't turn down, especially if my local grocery store had a special if you buy 3 12-packs. It was a decent discount. And I said, all right, so I'm going to get 2 of those, but I'm going to mix it up and get some nice cherry Coke Zero in the meantime. I think I've changed my blade lock's focus to finesse weapons instead of polearms. Oh, is that for Friday? Man, Coffee, I do hope that we'll get to play together on Friday. Because if they choose that tier that I'm thinking of, then you're gonna get to play with my bunny folk paladin, and that'd be a lot of fun, I think. All right, well, we have work to do, everyone. Come on, I know you're at home. I know you're on Twitch. That's no excuse. There's no fun here. This is D&D. This is crunching mechanics. This is not feeling ever adequate at your table because you deal 1 less DPR than the fully maximized person sitting next to you. And I sincerely hope you understand that sarcasm, especially on this channel, and especially with the theme of the week about random multi-classing. Because what the characters we make might go on to inspire you. It may not be the most efficient combo, but wow, this concept, I want to play a character like this. Good. Spark that inspiration, right? Get that creation, those creative juices flowing. Yeah, that'll be announced tomorrow, Coffee. Which, by the way, if any of you want to play D&D, go to D&D time, D, the letter D, the letter N, the letter D, time.stream, and sign up to play on Fridays. Pardon. New players are always welcome there. Alrighty, here is our handy-dandy random roll guide using the core books as reference. Not that we don't bring in supplements, we do. In fact, last week we drew in not only the Unearthed Arcana Artificer Revised supplement, the Of Ships and Sea supplement, and we even dipped into Volo's Guide to Monsters. Though now we're going back to our roots, Player's Handbook mostly, and depending on the circumstances, maybe even maybe even a dip into the DMG, depending on the alignments of the characters. I do want to add one more note. I will probably be revising this random roll guide, or at least making an expanded version. There's a couple things that I would like to do to be able to more fluidly open up options into into character creation. You know, something thematic or something that just might take, you know, another splat book into account, or all options, you know, an all options sheet. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Just know that that's in the background and in the works. All right. So here's this. Let's get our handy dandy dice roller. Boop. There it is. In fact, we can probably slim that down a little bit. There we are. We know we're going to multi-class, and in the normal rolls, it's a D100, and a female character is 1 to 45, a male character is 46 to 90. Therefore, there's a 10% chance, 91 to 100, of a multi-class character coming into play. What I will do, we know we're going to go multi-class at least between two. It could be interesting if we keep that open and say, well, maybe there's a multi-class that there's a third. And I'll tell you, if by the time we get to the 5th character, if we don't have that happen, then we'll make a 3-class multi-class character. And we'll give it a try, and we'll explore it, because you're not stuck with just one or the other. So let's roll a percentile. Oh, I think I already have an accent and a little bit of history planned for my blade lock. Was it, you said it was, are you going hex blade, or are you just going blade pact? I forget, Coffee. Percentiles? 81. Ooh, we're close to getting that 3, I was going to say job, like it's Final Fantasy. That 3-job multi-class character. So we know we have a male character. Okay, it's a solid place to start, right? Now let's roll a d10 and figure out the race. I rolled a 6, and 6s are gnomes. I'm going to roll the d10 again, and we're going to go forest or rock, depending on the result. With an odd number, I rolled a 9. That is going to be a rock gnome. So we have a male rock gnome. Rock gnomes are small, so I'm going to put SMOL in the size category. Now let's determine his alignment. I'm going to roll 2 percentiles. One of that's going to be for the axis of good, neutral, evil, and the other for lawful, neutral, chaotic. 76-81. We got close to evil. We're neutral, and with an 81, we are chaotic neutral. There we go. This goes here. Okay. Archfey, Pact of the Blade. Okay. The Archfey is her husband, and she's spent many of the last 150 years in the Feywild living with him. He's granted her his powers to do good things in the world of D&D time, though she has a tendency to be selfish and command authority. Ooh, so kind of tsundere, right? She does have a warm heart, but it's underneath this. It is underneath these more superficial desires or presentations. Now, the level at which we're going to generate this character, we normally randomly roll, but in order to be able to fully discover, where we would like to go with the character, our artificers, I set an artificial cap at 14, because that is, if you looked at their progression, that's where they ended up getting some good, some features for their subclass, was like on that last one. And then that gives them at least 3 ASIs, ability score improvements or stat bumps, that we could possibly take feats. I'm going to do the same, and I think I'm going to cap the characters this week at level 16. They're not quite epic level yet. I mean, well, none of them, they'll be epic level characters, but their jobs won't won't get to that point. But 16 will give us a great amount of flexibility to take a good mix of the jobs. Final Fantasy reference. Sorry, I'm 14 on the brain. We're getting ever closer to Shadowbringers release. And I want to explore those mixes, the blends of when you would want to interweave the two together. Now, with that, I'm not going to be breaking down every character level by level. So, we're going to make level 1. Now, what's level 2? Now, let's add a level... We're going to make them in their final form as we normally do. But this is going to be the ultimate consideration. With a 16, I think that'll give us a lot of opportunity. We could go, 8 and 8 or some mix. The first class that we roll will always be the dominant one. That's going to be an artificial constraint that we're placing on here. Just because we're if we go monk wizard, then, we're just going to throw in one level of monk and all of a sudden it's a throwaway, but we really love wizards. And so we're going to go 15 levels of wizard. It's an artificial constraint, but by subjecting ourselves to that kind of a thing, it can make us be more creative. Again, we can ask ourselves, why would someone make a character like this? What kind of a character who's primarily, at least a 50-50 split, who's a half, if not more, of a monk than a wizard? Why would they splash wizard after going through this martial training? Things like that. All right, so anyway, we are going to make a level 16 character. We're filling that in. Now I'm going to roll a percentile set, and of any of the possible ASIs that we'll receive, let's see how many of them will be replaced by feats. As in this practice, I do allow feats as the DM. Rolled a 65. Oh, that's close, but it's all going to be stat bumps. So there we go. She's a soldier. Also, her name is Vidania. Ooh, I like the way that name pronounces. Although it also sounds a little bit like Vidalia, and Vidalia may be onions, but they're sweet onions, and so maybe that's a good way to describe your character, right? She wants to do good, but she has this sort of outer layer, or she might have a little stinky personality quality of being selfish, or wants to command authority, like commanding your tears. So, Coffee Cat is running Vidalia the Onion Knight. All right, it's time now to generate a 13-sided die. I know, it's ridiculous, right? And we are going to roll which random background our character gets. We may end up having 2 classes, but you have 1 background. Number 4, an entertainer or a gladiator. All right, now which is it going to be? Let's discover more about her personality, maybe even her classes. So we're holding this as an option, but we don't need to pull the trigger on it just yet. As an entertainer or gladiator, we are going to roll a 3-sided die, and then we're going to get to choose 3 of the D10 options that could be your specialties. We rolled a 1, so we're going to be really good at one thing on the D10, which is number 9. I don't know what that is, but that's fine, because at this point, we only need to get a placeholder. Hey, Civil Hermit. When someone recognizes her, they can say, Das Vidania. We need some background music, by the way. Here we go. All right, now I hope the music, if the music's volume needs adjustment, let me know. Otherwise, I do see that my voice is edging into the yellow category, while the background sound is kind of staying around the midway green point on the slider or whatnot. Next up is 2 personality traits. So we're going to roll 2d8, 7 and 6, and then a bond, an ideal, a bond, and a flaw. 2, 3, and 6. Very good. Again, don't worry about the details just yet. Let's get the outline for the character as we're pulling them from the ethereal plane or whatnot. We're manifesting them in front of us. Okay, now I'm going to roll 2d12. The first number is going to be the character's primary class. The second number will be the character's secondary class. Oh, yeah, well then, Civil, because we want to explore not just the mechanics, but, you know, how or why could a character like this exist and be, you know, a functional party member, someone in society, you know, how could someone be both a cleric and a warlock at the same time, or whatever we're going to generate. Hey, Volvo, you're here, going to have the stream on while I work on my project? No problem, Volvo. This is, you know, all of these are pretty well just, I don't know, podcasts or, you know, listening. You could just listen very easily. There's nothing too fancy about the graphics on stream. All right, 2d12. And 12 and 9. So we are primarily a wizard who is splashing in a little bit of rogue. Okay. The wizard, we're going to roll a d8 and find out which school he is going to specialize in. In fact, I'll just roll 2d8 again. Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, because rogues only have 3. So I'm going to roll 1d8 instead. Our wizard is a divination wizard. And our rogue is, number 2, an assassin. Already some ideas are coming to mind. A divination wizard assassin rogue. I don't know, are your brains already starting to churn out possibilities and ideas? You know, how is this used? How is he employing his skills to the max? And now we can give him a little bit of physical stature. Portent plus sneak attack. You want to guarantee your sneak, and especially, by the way, Coffee, with the assassin, and you get all that, you get the bonuses. You get the bonuses if you strike first. Ooh. An assassin that can follow his victims remotely, says Civil. Spicy. We might be leaning towards Gladiator then, right? All right, Gnomes begin at 2 feet 11 inches, and we are going to add 2d4 inches to his height. We're adding 4 inches. That is going to put us at 3 feet 3 inches tall. He is a small boy. Now we're going to take that same 4, multiply it by 1, and add it to 35, which is the base weight. And so he weighs 39 pounds. He is a wee little babby. Well, at least in stature. Now we're going to roll a percentile set and figure out how old is our character. This is something that, you know, maybe some of us overlook, but it can have a big impact on the story. In fact, that old tiefling that I was talking about, you know, the tieflings stat-wise could have been, you know, a young 30-something tiefling. But would that have had the same impact, or could that have created the same story opportunity that we told with that character? You know, Coffee said that you know, there was a little bit of misting up going on when we were concluding that campaign suggestion, that, you know, that adventure outline, because here we have this old man, 85-year-old tiefling, who redeemed himself, and you know what? He's dying, but he's made peace with that because of the fact he earned his redemption, and he can see that even though the light in his eyes are dimming, that he did something good for the people that at one point in time he abandoned and left behind. So a random roll that made him venerable, it was on a 91 to a 95 on a percentile, that had a huge impact on the story and on the character. So never disregard the age of your character. That can play a lot into things. Okay, we rolled a 75. We are going to have a middle-aged gnome, and that's column 4. For a gnome, that's between 201 and 285 years old. I'm going to roll an 85-sided die. All right, so he's middle-aged at 248 years old. Or port in your initiative. Yeah, huh? Wait, could you? You might be, yeah, it's a check. In that case, too, if whether you have a high number or a low number, if you can manipulate the initiative, of your enemy, so as the assassin, you can strike first. I guess we'll explore that when we get to the mechanics. It sounds feasible. If you can portent your initiative, why couldn't you portent the enemy initiative and have them act a little bit slower? That way you get your first strike as an assassin. Alrighty. We no longer need our random roll guide. And so, class, I hope you have your player's handbooks ready. You knew that class was starting on Wednesdays. Open up to Chapter 4 backgrounds. And we're going to scroll to Entertainer/Gladiator. Remember, let's figure out who our character is before we figure out what he does. This is going to help give us so many clues as to why he went down the path he did and the decisions that he makes along the way. Dangerous bit, yeah, Coffee. Being an entertainer, I'll scoot this over a little bit. We don't need the extremes over here just yet. We rolled number 9, which is, a storyteller. And the background feature is by popular demand. Now, if we do go Gladiator, we don't have to, but if we do, that doesn't necessarily change, but it will change the venue or the type of performance given, similar to what Mordecai did on Tuesdays. Your proficiencies by being an entertainer are acrobatics and performance. You'll get tool proficiencies with a These Guys kit and a type of musical instrument. And if we do go Gladiator, it says you could replace the instrument with, you know, some kind of an interesting weapon like a trident or a net or something along those lines. Or at least the instrument you receive. It may not be a proficiency with it. We are going to get some starting equipment of an instrument. A token favor of an admirer, which will just roll up as a trinket. Trinket number, question mark, question mark. And we'll come back in just a second and figure out what that will be. A costume and we can determine what kind of a costume would he carry on him or with him, and a belt pouch containing 15 gapuz. His personality. We're going to begin with number 7. I know it's a little bit low, and oh shoot, it looks like 8's cut off just a little bit. Hang on. There we go. This might be able to help some. There we go. Number 7 is, I'll settle for nothing less than perfection. I think we have I think we might have a way that he blends his divination magic with his roguish ways. Don't you love how this stuff comes together? And number 6, I get bitter if I'm not the center of attention. Well, if you don't do it through your magic, and you certainly, you drop into the middle of a bunch of enemies and you just, assassinate them, you're at the center, you will get attention unless you've killed everyone. Continuing on, his ideal is number 2. Tradition. The stories, legends, and songs of the past must never be forgotten, for they teach us who we are. Dipping a little bit back into Mordecai on Tuesday, scratching his noggin and coming up with some interesting clues. His bond is number 3. I want to be famous, whatever it takes. Maybe including killing your rivals. Ooh. And lastly, his flaw, because we are all flawed creatures. That includes you, and if you don't think that you are, that's your flaw. So, haha, I gotcha. His flaw is number 6. Despite my best efforts, I am unreliable to my friends. Oh, so these divination gifts are perhaps used way more selfishly than to hand them out for the benefit of others. Let alone anything else, but if we're talking some mechanics. Okay, so we have an idea of who this character is and where we can go in the direction of continuing to form him up. An entertainer, gladiator. I'll settle for nothing less than perfection. I get bitter. You know what? I want to explore the abilities and the mixes of things that we're going to get before I really decide if we want to go entertainer or gladiator. Both of those are still very much storytellers. You could reenact a battle if you're a gladiator, or you can simply pull up a stool in a library or even in a tavern and tell tales. Chaotic neutral is how he expresses himself. So he is impulsive. He thinks quickly, which honestly a character like this might need quick wits. And the neutral aspect is he's not selfish ultimately. He wants to make sure that he is taken care of first, and then other people will be taken care of. So you have a good character that tends to project selflessness way more outward. They're willing to give more of themselves than perhaps they retain. A neutral character needs to fill up. Oh, Warden, hey, thank you so much. In fact, a double thank you, because that 50 cents is going right here. We're almost to the halfway mark of the March goal. So with that, he's impulsive and he wants to take care of himself, perhaps before he takes care of others, or others will be taken care of also because he's satisfying his own needs, and that is the expression of his personality. And that is supported by some information we're finding here in the prompts of the personality traits, ideal, bond, and flaw. Let's find out now what he is going to have going for him by way of being a gnome, in particular a rock gnome. Gnome traits, your intelligence score increases by 2. That will definitely help out when multiclassing. And int, int's not a main stat for rogues, but it is a good secondary stat. And of course, int for a wizard is, that's a bread and butter stat for him. Not that you can't build non-optimized wizards. You can. Challenge yourself sometime. Build a wizard with like a 14 intelligence and make it functional. I think you'll surprise yourself that you can do so, and be extremely useful to the party in many ways. Next up is our speed, which is 25 run, so 12 climb, 12 swim, and 0 fly. We are just not fly at all. Dark vision, 60 feet out. Gnome cunning, you have advantages. You have advantage on all intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws against magic. And you know what's going to be nice? Some of that extra rogue avoidance that we can dip into is going to make us very much more damage resistant, despite being maybe a little bit frailer in the hit point department. So advantages versus magic saves. Languages, common, gnomish, and a subrace trait here. Our constitution score increases by 1. We are going to get artificer's lore. So whenever you make an intelligence history check related to magic items, alchemical objet, or technological devices, you can add twice your proficiency bonus instead of any proficiency bonus you normally apply. Artificer's lore. And that, hey, as a wizard and as a rogue, a rogue that wants to learn more about a trap, that wants to learn more about picking a lock, or about the methodology of one thing or the other. This is a cool blend. Pardon me. And lastly, we tinker. We get proficiency with tinker tools. And we can construct a tiny clockwork device of some kind. Well, we can have 3 of them. A little fire starter, a clockwork toy, or a music box. And of course, if you talk to your DM, you could think about something that is in the realm. Like, those 3 create kind of boundaries or guidelines for you to create something within. Have this conversation with your DM and think of some cool custom stuff. Hey, diadems, welcome. That is what we're getting for being a gnome. And now we begin the process of building our multi-class character using the class data. We're going to be primarily a wizard, and let's take a look at... Remember, we're going to have at least 8 levels of wizard, because I want... that was one of the artificial boundaries that we set, was it's at least 50-50, but the first class roll should always be dominant, or in a tiebreaker, 51-49 kind of a thing. Looking at wizard, by 8th level, they're going to get some spells. They'll go up to 4th level here. But really, if we go to 10th level, we get this Arcane Tradition feature. And that could be a goal to set, where we go Wizard 10, so we're getting this Arcane Tradition. And if that's the case, let's sneak a look over at Rogue and see what we could get then by 6th level for a Rogue. We will be missing out on an ASI, but that's something to look forward to as the character continues to adventure. Rogues by 6th level, they will get Expertise. So it won't be enough for Evasion. Evasion would come at 7th level. I mean, we could always entertain, I guess, a 9th level, but we'd miss out on that. You know, if we're intending in some sort of a meta concept that, yeah, we're going to take our characters to 20, ultimately, yes, we're going to get Evasion anyway on the next level or something along those lines. So I don't want to spend too much time with how we're going to weave in, you know, we're going to take our 1st level of Wizard, and then really, to maximize this as you're building this yourself, you want to go 3 levels of Wizard, then throw in your 1st level of Rogue, and then and we go back and forth. We're going to build this ultimate build. And so I want to look at ultimately what we could put onto this character for this snapshot. I don't want to make it terribly confusing. I think going 10 levels of Wizard and 6 levels of Rogue is going to be fine. Because we're not going to get our 2nd Roguish archetype until 9th level. So for Assassin, we'll get Assassinate, but we're not going to get Infiltration Expertise until a little bit later anyway. Honestly, Infiltration Expertise, this is almost redundant considering that we are an entertainer with a costume and proficiency in a disguise kit. Now, this is a way that, you know, Charlatan kind of gives this to you. Or, so this could allow for a 3rd identity for a Charlatan even. You know, that you might want to talk to your, you might want to talk to your DM about that if you have redundancies, but I don't think we're gonna miss out too much on the concept by missing out on Infiltration Expertise, especially because we can use magic to kind of alter ourselves on the surface. You know, it doesn't, we're not showing the past 5 years of tax records and all the like, but it's there, right? Oh yeah, Daily. That's true. I heard that there was that there's a snowstorm, like a kind of a winter's last gasp is blowing across the U.S. here. Do you know offhand if that's continuing? If I'm in Ohio, am I going to be getting a ton of snow like that, or is it going to kind of peter out and it's just going to be kind of a springtime drizzle? I'm sorry to hear, though. I can confirm I will not do well in the zombie apocalypse. Uh-oh. You know, I thought about that Daily at some point in time setting some money aside for a natural gas generator. You know, because the house uses natural gas for several things. And it seems wise to just have a generator backup like that, just in case. You know, you don't want your freezer to thaw out or, you know, do all that. But I'm sorry to hear that. You know, I hope everything's fine and that, you know, power's restored. You didn't lose too much stuff, or you didn't have some electronics burn out or whatever. But I guess it's a good stress test of your home defenses and your survival capabilities, right? All right, so we are going to go 10 levels of Wizard. We're going to split this 10/6. Let's install our 10 levels of Wizard first. Remember, this is the ultimate build. We don't have to weave it bit by bit. No, it should not affect you as bad as it, this is what is known as a bomb cyclone. Now, has a bomb cyclone been used for like 100 years by people? It sounds like one of those terms that, I don't know, like someone on a news channel just picks up off of a message board, like polar vortex and all this other stuff. The bomb cyclone. Like, is this actually an established term, or is this just sort of like getting eyeballs on news stories kind of a thing? Sounds so dramatic. Not nearly as nice as an Alberta Clipper. Wizard hit dice are D6s, and we get 10 of them, for we are a 10th level wizard. And conveniently on this sheet, you might be able to see here. In fact, I can overlap this a little bit more now. You can see that should we multi-class, and we are, bada boom, look at that. Look at this other pool of hit dice right up here. Isn't that nice? So we get 10 D6 hit dice. We get no armor proficiencies. We do get some weapon proficiencies with daggers, darts, slings, quarterstaffs, and light crossbows. That might change with rogue. We'll look at that. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. We'll get no tool proficiencies. Saving throws are going to be intelligence and wisdom. And lastly, we're going to get to choose 2 skills from Arcana, History, Investigation, Medicine, and Religion. Let's see. I'll settle for nothing less than perfection. I get bitter if I'm not the center of attention. Tradition, I think, is going to lend to his storytelling. Right? The stories, legends, and songs of the past must never be forgotten. I want to be famous, whatever it takes. Despite my best efforts, I'm unreliable to my friends. History, for sure, is a very strong leaning. Aside from that, maybe even religion. Because outside of our history as a science of what is perhaps measurable on tax records and on history accounts, if you wish to be great, there are many great people who have existed throughout religious documents, whether they're mythical figures or they're people who have been chronicled to actually exist, and they're given this attribution as a prophet or something along those lines. So I think history and religion are going to be strong points for our storyteller. If a winter storm is dubbed a bomb cyclone or bombogenesis by meteorologists, it means it is expected to rapidly intensify, dropping 24 millibars over a 24-hour span, according to NOAA. The typical range in millibars is around 10 to 15. Oh, you mean like Weather Channel names every storm now? Oh, it is. Are they really just naming, every like a winter storm that passes by to? I know with hurricanes, because hurricanes are large events that this is getting into. Not that we can't talk about this stuff, but I don't want to sound. Would that be controversial even? I don't. Why am I doubting this in 2019? I should not have to doubt. Is calling out, the naming of every storm somehow taking away from the severity or the impact that a truly major event like a hurricane has, depending on how low the bar has gone? Maybe I'm just. Am I out of phase? I'm not. I'm not that old, or am I? Oh goodness. Oh goodness. Hey Triad, welcome. Howdy, taking a break from working on my class masters. Got them figured out, I think. Well, Triad, you're welcome to hang out if you have any questions or if there's things that we can help you with. This is the place to be. What else? We are going to know by 10th level 5 cantrips. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, assassins aren't spellcasters, and so our slots, even though we're multi-classing, are just going to be our wizard slots. And that'll be confirmed when we go to that chart in Chapter 6 a little bit later. Though, to write it down for now, we have 4, 3, 3, 3, and 2. There we go. Your proficiency bonus is always your character level. We're a level 16 character, so our proficiency bonus is 5, that you can see highlighted here. We'll get some starting equipment based off of our starting class, which, by the way, that'll be for our hit points also. And I'll describe that when we get there. So something like a quarterstaff and a dagger. You know what? He's going to go rogue. Maybe he has a lucky dagger or a ritual dagger or something along those lines. But we'll give him a dagger. Now, for being, let's see, maybe an arcane focus would be, you know, he's more of the type who is not necessarily, look, mechanically it's the same thing, though cosmetically he might have some sort of a talisman, or even, the token, you know, whatever that trinket is, could be his arcane focus. You know, something that was given to him by an admirer. So actually, why don't we token / focus. Let's roll a percentile real quick and figure out which token he is using, because this could add to his personality. This could add to his story, his decisions, or who knows. It could also create another NPC that exists, or a place, or something else to bring this character into the world more fully. Okay, here's trinkets. Let's roll percentile. We rolled a 51. A dead scarab beetle the size of your hand. Ooh. So perhaps the scarab beetle has been dried and preserved. It might have been lacquered or something along those lines. So this is number 51. So he received this from an admirer. And perhaps someone who really loved his stories in wizard school or wherever else he was developing this has, went out and got one of these got one of these beetles that he talked about so often, and it's magically preserved, or it's it's alchemically preserved, or something along those lines. And because he's such a master storyteller, he's this divination wizard. Maybe he can look into the polished surface of the beetle's wings, and that acts as kind of a crystal ball or something along those lines. I think that could be very appropriate. This could very easily be a religious character himself, finding and eliminating enemies of his god. The entertaining, leaning more towards preaching. Yes, Civil. That is a very good interpretation. We don't have to be clerics to be religious, nor do we have to be acolytes per the background. As an acolyte, it means that you went out of your way to serve, in some capacity. You handed out flyers at the door, you cleaned up, you shoveled snow outside of your church, something along those lines, where you stepped up in a way, you played the guitar during the service or whatever. But you can have a deeply religious, even as a wizard, as an arcane caster, you can have a deeply religious person who is maybe arguably more pious than someone who is deliberately given gifts by the gods, because he still holds his faith despite not getting, pats on the head in the same fashion. Or that's how he understands as he's reading his wizard book. His wizard book could very well be a Bible, a Quran. It could be a tale that has spells that are written in it, or he has read the subtext. And so for many people who haven't discovered it, they can read a religious text and say, oh, I get it. But for those who know where to look, they see the words that are written in the spaces between the words. They don't look at the words, they look at the page, and then kind of the magic eye effect of what happens. Something like that could very well be the case. I like that, Civil. I like that. Let's go back to the Wizard. Pardon me. Then a Scholar's Pack or an Explorer's Pack, and then a spell book. Probably, as a Storyteller and a Chronicler, Scholar's Pack. If we go this route, I could also say, if you're making this character at home, talk to your DM and say, I want to make a religious wizard. If I can get the Scholars pack, would you mind if I trade that for a Priest's pack instead? And maybe your arcane focus is a holy symbol. Right? You're reading spells out of the good book, and you're holding up a focus. You're not a cleric, but you kind of are. You're a reskinned cleric. Nothing wrong with that. You know, hopefully your DM doesn't balk or think that all wizards have to be, you know, old long beards wearing, you know, kind of crumply, pointy hats. Triad says, here's a list of races and classes I put together for the class masters. Half Goliath, half barbarian. Or, I'm sorry, half Goliath / giant barbarian. Elf bard, Lady Bliss, dwarf cleric. Warforged druid, dwarf fighter, tiefling monk, human paladin, air genasi ranger. Forest elf rogue, silver dragonborn sorcerer. Aasimar warlock, Aasimar wizard. Oh, yeah. That's right, because you're making NPCs for your game, and each of them heads a particular, not just the class, but you're also going into the subclass. And so there's 3 rogue masters, because you're the master assassin, the master arcane trickster, or the master thief. Am I correct? So we have cantrips, we can do rituals. We will receive Arcane Recovery as a class feature. And we'll receive our Arcane Tradition at 2nd level. And we're not going to hit Spell Mastery, so I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to label this Wizard Class. And then we can make a Rogue Class features. Down here we'll have Wizard Archetype. And then Rogue Archetype. You consider that, but I don't know. I might want to take... oh, yeah, that would end up turning into a lot, wouldn't it? That makes sense. So you might have a rogue master, though he'll have lieutenants that are the epitome. And so if someone wants to talk to someone who's under the rogue master, then they could do so. Then maybe do something along those lines. As we are a divination specialist here, we are a divination savant. The gold and time you must spend to copy a divination spell into your spell book is halved. We also get portent. Starting at 2nd level, when you choose this school, glimpses of the future begin to press in on your awareness. When you finish a long rest, allow 2 d20s and record the numbers rolled. You can replace any attack roll, saving roll, or ability check made by you or... Coffee Cat. Made an ability check made by you or a creature you can see. And so that could very well combo. If we roll a 1 and a 20, or I don't know, just like a 3 and a 17, we can impose that 3 on an initiative and slow this person down to get our assassination in a little bit more guaranteed. Our assassination our assassination / sneak attack. Portent, and then expert divination. Beginning at 6th level, casting divination spells comes so easily to you, it expends only a fraction of your spellcasting efforts. When you cast a divination spell of 2nd level or higher using the spell slot, you regain 1 expended spell slot. The slot you regain must be of a level lower than the spell you cast and can't be higher than 5th level. We're kind of, it's like juggling spells, or it's sort of like the ultimate reflection of the expenditure of power. And lastly, because we're going 10 levels of this, we have what's called the Third Eye. Starting at 10th level, you can use your action to increase your powers of perception. When you do so, choose one of the following benefits, which lasts until you are incapacitated or you take a short or long rest. You can't use the feature again until you finish a rest. Dark vision, ethereal sight, greater comprehension, or see invisibility. That's pretty good. And we won't worry about the greater portent. You know, ultimately, if we only went with 6 levels of rogue, the greater portent would be our capstone, and we could get 3 portents instead of 2. Maybe. Anyway. For the wizard also, our spellcasting is int. We know 5 cantrips. Four, 3, 3, 3, and 2. At first level as a wizard, you start with 6 first level spells of your choice. Level 1. Whoops. Every level, you get 2 more spells that, I don't know, you master, you unlock, they've been with you always, and you just understand them now. Wizards are neat, though, because you can ultimately collect them all and get every wizard spell that exists. If we're going by just what you're automatically given, we're going to go level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, level 6, level 7, level 8, level 9, level 10. I like, and I would recommend that you all, make a note. Where did you get this spell, especially as a wizard? Did you buy it? Did you trade it with another wizard? Where did you get the information? Because your spell book is an interesting diary of where you've been, who you've talked to, where you can find spells, and especially this can help keep track of your magical resources. I'm actually wondering if evasion would be better than Third Eye. Oh, yeah, so if we bring that up, that'll be interesting, because we won't get evasion unless we added 1 more level to this character. But we're actually going to get to that real soon here, and we could crunch some numbers too, Civil, to see what we can do in that regard. Okay, so congratulations, we have a fairly functional wizard, right? In concept. Now to multi-class, you need to reference Chapter 6, and you see that there's some prerequisites. So to be a wizard rogue, we're going to have the prerequisite in wizard and in int of 13, and for rogue a dex of 13. So we need to make sure that when we're assigning our stats, and I think dex and int are going to be high anyway for a wizard, so it shouldn't be a problem, but just remember, you need the prerequisites in the one from which you're leaving, and the one into which you're heading. You do not get everything as per creating character creation with your multi-class. Here's a good example. If we're going to multi-class into rogue, we are going to have light armor proficiency, and then 1 skill from the class's skill list, as well as thieves' tools. And now we'll head over to rogue. Rogues, we don't need to worry about spell slots, right? Because the kind of rogue we're going into, an assassin, doesn't have spell slots. And so we're only making... We're just going off of a 10th level wizard, because that's the only part of the class, of the character, that is providing magic. Head over to Rogue. And now let's build 6 levels of Rogue. It's not difficult to do. Our features, our proficiencies are going to be replaced with the things that we were particularly given. So we're going to get light armor, and we're going to get thieves' tools, and 1 skill. So we're not getting the saving throws. We're not getting the weapons. We are getting hit points. That's its own thing. We got replacement proficiencies. As we're level 6, we are going to have 6d8 hit points, or hit die, from being a level 6 rogue also. Let's take a look at the skills. Acrobatics, athletics, deception, insight, intimidation, investigation, perception, performance, persuasion, sleight of hand, and stealth. What would he take? Nothing less than perfection. I get bitter if I'm not the center of attention. Well, we do have performance already. I want to be famous, whatever it takes. The stories, legends, and songs the past must never be forgotten, for they teach us who we are. We have acrobatics and we have performance from being an entertainer or a gladiator. Investigation might not be bad, though. Since that's already covered, could we look at what would his training in being a rogue bring to the table? If he has performance, but if we wanted to do something like maybe juggling, that could be more like an acrobatics than a performance, or it'd be a performance through dex, depending on your DM. Sleight of hand might actually back up performance, as well as accent why or how he became a rogue. You know, he has dexterous hands. He can do all the wizardly, you know, the mudras and whatnot of ninjas and such. So sleight of hand might be the way forward for that. You could also argue stealth. You know, if he wants to, you know, to make a, you know, he's so used to surprising people. Maybe that's what led to his assassin style training. You know, you could say, well, so stealth was his break-in into being a rogue instead of sleight of hand. You know, I'm fine with those suggestions if you want to throw something out there. And I'm sorry, Trad, I missed something you said here. When the characters decide on their archetypes, I may just have them do a quest, and by the end, they're that archetype. Yeah, if you want to plot it out, just remember that some get them at level 1, some get them at level 2, and everyone else gets it at level 3. Which could be a good way to warm up into the story. Hey, here you are in the city. You're gonna have to talk to these people. So, you know, do the cleric's job quest first. Oh, there's a druid in the party. All right. Well, you finish that. Now go talk to the master druid. And now that you've done that, go talk to the master fighter. And then we have 3 levels of quest and content. All right, rogue class. We have taken 6 levels of that. Our proficiency bonus isn't changed. That is based on our character level, not our class. So by 6th level, we are going to have a sneak attack of 3d6. We're going to have expertise. Oh, actually, we're going to have expertise in either 4 skills, because at level 6 we get our next version of it. So either 4 skills or 3 skills in thieves' tools. You might be able to well, I say argue. Don't be aggressive. You might be able to ask your DM for an extension outside of it. You know, if you might, maybe you get a disguise kit. That could be thievy. That could play into an assassin, right? You got to dress up to get close to your target. If you can come up with a reason, communicate with your DM, and maybe your DM will just say yes, and your character will be better for it. But with that said, let's stick with what is by the books. I'm throwing that out there for you to chew on. Let's see. Expertise. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to also learn not just common and gnomish, but thieves can't. We are going to get cunning action. You can take a bonus action on each of your turns in combat. This action can be used to take the dash, disengage, or hide action. That could be very interesting for being a mobile caster. Uncanny dodge at level 5. When an attacker you can see hits you with an attack, you can use your reaction to have the attack's damage against you. You know, that's almost playing into a divination wizard. You can almost say that, you know, you're not looking at it as I received wizard training and then I went to rogue training and I am a product of 2 schools. You can blend this so easily to just be whatever you want to call this. I don't know what you'd want to call it, but you could just call this as it exists, as this blend. Just give it a name. A futurist, or I don't know. But you get what I'm saying here, right? So there's uncanny dodge, and then there's evasion that we're not going to get because we're not 7th level in that. But that will be, you know, combined with the fact that we're proficient in int and wisdom saves, and that we're a gnome, and we'll get advantage on int, wiz, and charisma saves. Then if we bring evasion into the mix, that is going to give us kind of a backdoor advantage to dex saves also. Yeah, exactly, Civil. A foresight assassin? Yes, oh, hey, Delcorn, thank you very much. And hello, Cake Boss. Sorry, with the new position on my microphone, it blocks my chat off to the side. So it might, it can sometimes take a second, especially if I'm on a soapbox about stuff. But hello. All right, that is what we get for virtue of being a rogue. Now let's see what we get as an assassin. When you choose this archetype at 3rd level, you gain proficiency with the Disguise Kit and the Poisoner's Kit. So here, you might be able to argue with your DM and say, well, I already have proficiency with the Disguise Kit, being an entertainer, and Assassin is giving me proficiency. Could I be an expert in the Disguise Kit that way? Or if you will not allow me to be an expert Disguise Kit user, will you allow me to take another tool or another kind of kit that is appropriate for who I am and what I do? We'll definitely, or if we go poisoners, you say, well, I already have Disguise Kit. If you want to allow expertise, even though, you know, my job lets me get expertise in Thieves' Tools, wink, wink, DM, I'll take Alchemist instead. So I'll make poisons, but I'll also make, holy water. I'll make holy water, right? If we're having a religious character. So we have Thieves' Tools and Poisoner's Kit. We can also then get the ability to assassinate. Starting at 3rd level, you are at your deadliest when you get the drop on your enemies. You have advantage on attack rolls against any creature that hasn't taken a turn in the combat yet. In addition, any hit you score against a creature that is surprised is a critical hit. You can use your portents to force them into a lower initiative. This is a very good natural mix, even if it seems odd at first. The handle of that top sword looks strangely familiar. What do you... Okay, Cake Boss. We'll see you around. Thanks for stopping in. What sword were you talking about? That one? If so, is that the smiling edge that you wield? In the chance that you get to put your butt in the throne of Stream Boss? And what's nice too is, you know, if you get your sneak attack in on that too, that would be really cool. Then at 9th level, and we're not there yet, it'd be infiltration expertise. So really just assassinate is what we're rocking right now from our rogue archetype. And that can add a lot of extra damage. You know, if you get the drop, you can manipulate the order of things. You can assassinate, disengage, and move away before they have a chance to react. And then if that puts you back and I don't know, you get like a big burly fighter or something in the group who stands in the way, then you got your initial damage in, you fade back to the shadows, and then you can pew from the shadows. Crit sneak attack is brutal. Sneak attack, though, I don't think that counts as weapon damage. I don't think you get double dice on that. Now, if I'm incorrect, then, you know, please tell me, but... Doomfish has come seeking enlightenment with 5 others. Hey, thank you, Doomfish. And 5 others. You've seen it, Oh, hello. Thank you, Doomfish. And by the way, month 3, take a look. You no longer have mild green salsa, or guacamole if you prefer. You have moved up in spiciness to a beautiful yellow, like a nice warm yellow color spicy salsa, or if you prefer, a really good queso dip. Dice rolled, not just weapon. Gotcha. Then yeah. So there we go. We're getting like more guaranteed hits and more guaranteed hits and damage in from a wizard, mind you. A little spicier, and you know what, Doomfish? It's gonna turn to a very nice orange. So maybe that's like a salsa con queso, something along those lines, right? At 6 months. You know what's interesting too? You could use your little tinker devices to create a distraction and then strike at that point as well. Okay, congratulations, we're multi-classed. With the only caveat now to the characters, we have to make sure we have at least a 13 dex and a 13 intelligence. Oh no, how's that going to happen? Everything else can be everything else. Using the standard array of 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, and 8, let's drop some... Oh, you know what? We got to give expertise to some stuff. Probably Thieves' Tools? Performance. He wants to be number 1. Performance and Thieves' Tools for sure. What else? Perfection, center of attention, tradition, so probably history. History, performance. Honestly, it would probably like go history, performance, and then Thieves' Tools, but you know, we're making the ultimate build of the character. History and religion. If he's a knowledgeable character, you know, he's very religious himself, And not as a direct mechanical agent of the gods, as per a paladin, or like a cleric more directly. Paladins are kind of, they are, but they're not. We have a very deeply religious character. In fact, you know, we kind of have, with a character like this, if you're familiar, actually, I think Derek was talking about this a couple days ago on his stream. Here we have a character like the Boondock Saints. That is kind of resounding with me. You know, they're religious. The actions that they take are, you know, are inspired by religion. They consider themselves to be religious characters, despite the nature of their work. All right. Well, intelligence is going to be huge because we do have a smarty pants, and we are primarily a wizard. And Dex is going to be very important as well. So if we go something like 15, 14, 13, 13, 12, 10, and 8. That will bring our constitution up to 11, our intelligence to a 17, and now we get 3 ASIs. We are a 16th level character. However, our ability score improvements are tied to our class levels. And so from Wizard, we're going to get our level 4 and our level 8. Our Rogue, we're going to get our level 4. So we're only going to get 3 stat bumps. And that's +2 to 1 stat or +1 to 2. Or we just look at that as a pool of 6 points. We can probably round some stuff up here. Right? Charisma. So there's 1, 2, 3. We can, throwing a spare one in strength mechanically gives you benefits for the score, not just the modifier. So if you ever have a spare one that you can't round up with a feat, throw it in your strength score. Makes you a little bit, you know, stronger to carry stuff. So there's 4 of our 6, and now we'll probably put our other ones into dexterity. And there we go. And if we really wanted to swap, I don't see why we couldn't. You can still be an effective wizard with a 16 int. It depends on the spells that you take. You know, it's up to you. If you find a magic item, you could have a person who's a dummy, who's wearing a headband of intellect, and they suddenly have a 19, as long as they're wearing that item, by the way, but they have a 19 intelligence score. You know, if you wanted to round it out and make sure that he could perform better, you know, put charisma could be higher there. It's however you'd like to look at that. Vidania is starting with some ridiculous dex. Oh, is she starting with an 18 dex? Or what? Or 7? Wait, because it's standard array +2. Oh, so 17. A 17 dex. Yep. She's very nimble. With what we're talking about, and you know, Civil, you had that good suggestion. You know, maybe he does consider himself a holy warrior or someone he's trying to emulate. He's kind of like Azrael from Batman, or you know, he found a figure that he really likes in history or religion. I could see this as more of a gladiator. More of a gladiator than an entertainer. Because he can still tell stories, but with his skill set, he might be able to reenact things for as a performance, or he could just sit down and talk about it. Or he can deliver it by like sitting down, or he can just recreate it physically. It makes sense for the build because she is going to be a melee warlock. So we have a character that's no longer a pile of stats. He has earned a name. I am open for names. You know, does he have a name that he goes by from history that he's trying to emulate? You know, is he trying to be Saint so-and-so, or is he trying to be like a gnomish folk hero? What's his regular name if he has one? I'm open to suggestions here as I fill in the numbers. Right, -1 strength, 3 dex, 1 con, 4 int, 1 wisdom, and 2 charisma. If we wanted, by the way, we could always like put Constitution as his low one. You know, so maybe he's never been the healthiest, and that's why he's had to go by his smarts. That could still be thematic, and it might seem weird. Why would I ever put Con as my dump stat? Because you're good at a lot of other things to help you not take damage and survive. So if you're building this at home, you know, rearrange the stats. This character, make this character yours. This is simply an iteration of him. -1 and -1 for athletics and saving throws. Dex, we have 3 stealth and a saving throw. However, we're going to get 8 acrobatics and 8 sleight of hand. Con is a 1. Intelligence is going to be a 9. However, history is getting double at history and religion. So that's going to be a 14 and a 14 for history and religion. Arcana is going to be 4, 4, and 4 for Arcana, history, and nature. Or not history, investigation and nature. Wisdom saving throw is going to be a 6, and then 1's down the line. Charismas are 2 down the line with the exception of performance, which is going to be a 12. Massive, massive, massive. That is going to give her a passive perception of 11, as that's 10 plus her perception modifier. That's her natural awareness. Let's see. Our initiative is a dex check, so that's a +3, and we can modify that with our portent if we like. We are trained in light armor. Now, if we do take mage armor, that would be a 13 plus dex. Though, if you wear light armor, I don't know, there might be a time where you don't want to have to rely on that. Maybe it'll give you away if you have to walk through a magic detection device or something. And so if you wear leather, you know, it'd be a 14 AC, and if you wore mage armor, it'd be 16 AC. But something to consider, because we are getting light armor proficiency from the multi-class into thief. And hey, if this were a dwarf, we'd get medium armor proficiency, and you could do some fun stuff. You could have a decently high AC as a wizard with that. So armor class is going to be really subjective to what we're doing. I'm going to leave that blank. Now our hit points. Our first level gets maximum hit points based on the hit die, which is 6 for a wizard. When you multi-class, you don't get that big first shot again. It's a first character level. Now for our other 9, right, we already had our first level, so our other 9 levels of our 10 from wizard are going to be half plus 1. So half of 6 is 3, plus 1 is 4. Then for all 6 of our rogue levels, it's going to be half plus 1 of rogue hit points. So half of 8 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Then for all of our levels, all 16 of them in our concept, you get bonus hit points based on your Constitution modifier. And so here's our very simple math to calculate our hit points. So we have 16, we have 30, we have 36, and 6. So we have 42 plus 30 is going to be 72, plus 16 is going to bring us to 88 hit points at level 16. With plenty of shenanigans to go around. Misfit, welcome! Gonna get some really sick performance and acrobatics checks later down the road with Mordecai. Oh, I'm looking forward to it. Oh, our spell attacks. It's based off of int. We're gonna be hitting at a +9, and saves are gonna be against a 17 versus our spell effects. Let's put that down here. +9 and a 17 save. And aside from choosing our cantrips and choosing our guaranteed spells, we have a multi-class character, a divination wizard rogue assassin who You know, we've made a story up for him. You know, he's actually, I'm going to even make the note here, deeply pious, an agent, if only in his own mind, like a vigilante of his faith, who is emulating that role model. We can understand the decisions he makes. We've understood his life and what took him down this path. Why would someone ever be a wizard rogue, let alone a divination wizard assassin rogue? This is exactly the reason. Because we grew it organically step by step. We have a living, breathing character who makes decisions, has compulsions, has reason for his actions. And, you know, he's not just a murder hobo. He could. But instead, he seems to be a little bit more, he acts with a flourish. He's probably more methodical because of that. Yes, he's chaotic neutral. It doesn't mean he goes around, you know, he kicks a puppy because he's gone, you know, because he did something lawful 10 minutes ago. Now to be neutral, he has to be something chaotic, or two chaotics for a lawful kind of a thing. You know, I don't believe in karmic balance like that. You know, just because you nuke Megaton doesn't mean you can give some distilled water to the Drifter and get your karma back up to maximum. You know, he's very versatile. He can travel in many circles. He has a great skill set, and the Divination Wizard does support his roguish, his class and especially his subclass, using portents to manipulate initiative so that he can maximize and always pop off those assassination strikes. I always go with the chaotic is more of a doesn't agree with the laws of the land and organized civilizations. Not just crazy random. You're impulsive. You get a lot of ideas. You can act on thoughts. I mean, however you want to portray it. Maybe you act on your gut, or you're just very quick-witted. It can be expressed in a lot of different fashions. It's a guiding, you know, it's a lighthouse. You're going in this direction, but you can wobble around on your way there. All right, so everyone, I'm gonna take a break, get up, stretch my legs. Maybe I'll get another Cherry Coke Zero here. I'd love some thoughts on names for this character, whether it's his actual name, maybe it's his moniker that he goes by. If he's trying to take on this Azrael from the Batman series kind of a thing, or he's kind of he's a paladin in his own right, and he's trying to emulate this old figure from history or religion, something along those lines. GM Vault wants to name him Bob. Impulsive is how I think of Chaotic Misfit. Also, while I make dinner, even if you don't follow Critical Role channel, they have an interview series, and they've interviewed Chris Perkins this week. Amazing interview. What was the topic? Bob is short for Bob. Is that a short joke because he's a gnome? Anyway, I'm gonna get up and take a break, everyone. Go ahead and do the same, and when you come back, we'll make a second multi-classed character, and let's bring him or her to life, and figure out what to do here. And you say it was a good interview. Yeah. What was the gist of it?